Alright, well, the camera just started as I was eating my mango. Spree on here. Uh, I was gonna finish eating this and then start record, but it seems my camera had other plans. I don't know if it picked up a hand signal or something that I don't know. And yes, by the way, I eat the skin. The skin's actually pretty good for you. A lot of people don't know that. Mango skin has a lot of good fiber. And to be honest, it's also sweet. Like the insides of it, it has that same sweet flavor as the mango itself, which is why I just like to eat the skin. I make sure to wash it off properly so that it's clean. Then I eat it. But seeing as the camera just decided to start recording, I guess you guys will join me as I eat my mango. I was just about to make what I wanted to talk about actually was where I have been, you know? Because I have not been posting videos for quite some time, right? So I'm sure some of you may be wondering where I have been. Um, yeah, and I've been going through quite a lot. Quite a lot of things has happened. A lot of different situations. A lot of growth. I've changed so much actually in just the span of a month alone. Completely different. Um, so yes. Long story short, which is funny because even if I try to shorten it, it's still not really a short story because I will be explaining what has been going on, right? Goodness me, where do I even start? But basically, I was going through a very tough time in terms of my living situation. I would have briefly mentioned that while making my previous videos, but I never expounded on it. So I've been living at an apartment complex for the first half of this year. And I had a roommate, and we had agreed on a contract lease that we would, split half and half for the year. And I agreed to that because it's something I could have afforded. Because me right now, I would not call myself as in a financially comfortable position. I wouldn't say that, right? I am running on thoughts, prayers, and faith, right? It's just me and the divine. That's it. But yeah, I agreed to it because I knew I could afford that. Long story short, they took advantage of me. They scammed me, bailed out on me. I paid my half up front first 6 months. Paid it. They didn't have to worry about a thing. And when it came to their turn now to pay their half, they bailed, completely bailed on me, left, and put me in a really, really, really bad situation because now I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I was expecting that they would have upheld their part of the bargain, right? Because I knew if they did that, I would be fine for the whole year. I'd have been fine. I didn't have anything to worry about. But because they went and bailed out on me and left me in quite the bad situation, which is unfortunate because I did trust them, give them the benefit of the doubt, and they took advantage of me, completely took advantage, and they were very cruel. That's what I would say, very cruel, because they knew my situation and why I was there in the first place. So now I'm realizing it's going to be an even longer story because now I have to explain how I even ended up there. Which also plays into a video I will want to make in terms of how I was raised. So my parents are very religious, and they're in a particular religion that ostracizes you if you leave. I'm sure some of you might actually know exactly which religion I'm talking about just from me saying that. But they're witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was raised as one, grew up as one, but something about it just never sat right with me. It didn't sit right with me. A lot of things that just didn't make sense and I didn't agree with. So I made my final decision to leave, and they took it as an excuse to, alright, well, kick me out. And that's what they did. And not only that, they kicked me out not only because I left the religion, but also because my own father was extorting me for money. Alright? He would take 80%, and I'm not even kidding, 80% of my salary every month without fail, and claim it's for upkeep and rent. Mind you, I just want to leave this footnote here. My father is very well off. He is set for the rest of his life. He does not need my money. I'm going to just leave that there. Now, I have no problem with contributing to the family. I don't. That's fine. I agree with that. But to take almost everything I earn, that wasn't working. Because on top of that, he wouldn't take care of me. My family wouldn't take care of me. They wouldn't feed me. They wouldn't get clothes for me. They wouldn't support me. They wouldn't finance anything, not even my education, right? All my parents were doing for me was just providing me a place to sleep. That was it. So I had to use the measly 20% of my salary every month to try and feed myself, try and get food, try and find enough money to transport myself from point A to point B, for miscellaneous expenses, for emergency expenses. And I couldn't do it. It was impossible because it was such a small amount of money I had to work with. It was never enough to where I could buy enough food for myself, have enough to transport myself, have enough to cover any other expenses that I would have to take care of. So it was so bad to where I was quite literally begging neighbors and strangers for money and food just to survive while living with my parents. No matter how many times I say that, again, it sounds like a story, it sounds fake, right? But I can guarantee you that was my life, where I am living with my parents and they are taking everything I earn and leaving me with nothing, crumbs, literally nothing, where I had to be begging while living with my parents. It got so bad to where the neighbors even had a joke, and I didn't find it funny, but it was like, I guess you would call it one of those urban legend sort of things, where the neighbors would see me passing, they would see me passing up and down, walking in and out of the neighborhood. Because even then, my father wouldn't even give me a ride. I would have to walk. It's quite the strenuous walk, You know, he would literally see me on the, like, drive past me and just drive past me straight. So sometimes neighbors would see me, they'd stop, pick me up. They'd always make a joke. They'd be like, "You sure you're not adopted? You sure that's your father? You sure that's your mother?" That's the sort of like banter they would pull with me. That's how bad it was. Like, it was so bad to where it was visible to everybody around about how poorly I was treated. Why? Because I was different. Because I did not accept the way that they wanted me to live. They wanted me to conform to their religion and their beliefs, which I didn't believe, and they never respected that. They didn't want to respect it. You know? I'll never forget the day my father told me, word for word, "I will make sure you experience hell." Simply because I left. I didn't want to conform to their beliefs. Right? He said he'll make sure I'll experience hell. And hell he did make sure I experienced. You know, again, I will go more in depth about that in another video separately, in which I will talk about my childhood. Because even when I was a part of it, I was treated very horribly. You know, I've always been very different to my family. Very different. The way I perceived the world, the way I saw the world, the way I thought was always very different. So even from a very young age, even when I was still in the organization with them, I was treated as a black sheep. I was not treated as one of them, you know. So yeah, so to get back to the story now of at least present day of what's going on, due to me leaving and me putting my foot down from preventing them from myself from being extorted, because I told them, I said, "Listen, this is not working, you know, this is ridiculous. I'm here living with you and I'm out here begging on the streets. Like, you're not even being a father, you know, you're not, I'm sure you guys notice I'm talking more about my father than my mother, because, you know, in my household, it's more so my father that makes these decisions, and he runs the household. So that's why you'll hear me talk directly about my father. I said, "This is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore." I said, "I don't mind contributing to the family, absolutely, but not to the point where you're taking everything from me and you provide nothing for me, nothing, except a place for me to sleep. That's it, you know, where I am providing everything for myself." And when I mean everything, I mean everything. I couldn't, when I say, like, people think I exaggerate that. I could even use the internet in the house. They would refuse to let me use the internet. They even got a security system, a Thing box. A Thing is like a certain company, security company, electrical security company, where they got that and locked me completely from the network. Completely locked me and all my devices from the network. Right? And demanded that I get my own internet. So I did. So that was an extra expense as well. So on top of all of what I just mentioned before, the food and the transportation and the miscellaneous expenses, I also had to pay for my electricity, my internet every month. Oh, and electricity. Oh my goodness, this thing is falling. So yeah, it was just not feasible. It was not sustainable. It wasn't livable. I was not living. I couldn't even call that living a life. It was more like slavery with extra steps. And I couldn't even rely on my own family. My own family were just using me for money. So once I put my foot down, my father was like, "Well, I don't have any use for you anymore. You're not being a cash cow for me. So I'll kick you out. I'm kicking you out." And I didn't even have much time to figure out what to do either. Did not have time. He told me that when? Last year, December. And within the month, he was like, "You better find a place before the end of this month, or you're gonna be out on, I'm gonna just kick you out. And he made it very clear, because he even called the cops on me. He literally even called the cops on me. I remember that 3 of them showed up to my door and basically enforced that he was very serious about, removing me from the premises. I was thinking to myself, what is this, an intervention? But yeah, so thankfully an extended family member caught wind of what was going on, and they too were in a similar situation where they had left the organization as well, because my family is very heavily steeped in being witnesses. Most of my family are Jehovah's Witnesses, most of them. So unfortunately now that means I can't really ask most of them for help. They will literally just ignore me, pretend that I don't exist, make an excuse, claim that this is the consequences of my actions. It's funny, rather than help. Again, it's funny because it's more like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where they'll deliberately not help you. They'll deliberately do things to make you suffer and then tell you it's your fault. It's very manipulative, but that's besides the point. I'll touch more on that on my childhood video when I get there. So thankfully this extended family member heard and helped me out, said hey, they'll help me with finances for a bit, at least for a couple months, so I can get back on my own 2 feet. So that's how I ended up now where I was this year, or where I'm at this year. At the apartment complex, I ended up finding an old friend of mine, an old acquaintance, and that's how I ended up with them being my roommate, because they had told me, they said, hey, I'm going through a similar situation to you, things are really bad in my household, so I'm thinking, okay, this person, this old acquaintance of mine, who hasn't shown any signs of being malicious, is claiming that hey, they've gone through the same thing, and they want to work together. And that made sense to me. I'm like, okay, we both going through similar struggles, so it would make sense to work together. So before we even agreed to the lease, I laid out everything, the whole financial plan, how much we would have to pay, how much it would be if we split, etc., etc. And I made sure to double check, triple check, quadruple check. How does this sound? I laid out the entire financial plan. How does this sound? Can you do this? Yes, man. Yes, absolutely. They assured me, yes, they can handle it. Well, the moment they set foot in the apartment, they didn't. It's not even to say that they did their half of the bargain, at least for the first couple of months. Nope. The moment they set foot in the apartment, they then revealed to me, well, actually, I'm not really making enough to even really split, And I'm like, wait, what? I said, I laid out everything, and I mean everything. I am very, very conscious when it comes to my finances. I take that seriously. Laid out the entire financial plan, revised it, went over it with them multiple times. Can you do this? Can this work? Is there anything you need to tell me? They assured me everything was fine, that they can handle. And the moment they finally got their foot in the door, entered, actually, I can't. it really baffles me the way that people just lie for no reason. It really does, because what these people don't realize is you'll never get anywhere trying to build a foundation on lies. A lot of these people don't realize that until it's too late. But hey, so anyways, they pull that on me, and I'm like, well, this is a problem because we're here. We're already here. I've already signed the lease. So I'm like, you know what? I say, okay, I will handle the first 6 months. I didn't really want to fight with them. Now, in hindsight, I should have. In hindsight, I should have demanded that they at least they pay something. But the person who I was at the time, I was still very soft. No, I still am soft, but it's different now. It's more so I know how to protect my softness now. But back then, I still didn't fully understand and know how to do that. So I still gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I still was being very, very generous. Very generous. Too generous, to be honest. So I was like, you know what? I'll just pay the first 6 months. Alright? I'll uphold my end of the bargain, because I am the kind of person that always sticks to his word. I said that I would go half. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And then you will handle the next half. Because I just didn't want to fight. I didn't want to. It's like because I want you guys to imagine for a second. I just came from a very volatile, hellish environment, living with my parents. I just came from that. So I was not interested in causing a big fuss, fighting up with this person, to create another sort of uncomfortable environment for a year. You know what I mean? I just wasn't interested in that. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'll uphold my end of the bargain. I'll pay. I'll even go first, and you handle afterward. So that's what ended up now happening, where they took advantage of that. Where I did my first 6 months, and they took advantage of that and just bailed out on me afterward. So beyond that that's when I realized that not only that when they had told me, at the start that they could handle everything, that was a lie. I also realized that the whole thing with the family was also a lie, because they gave me this big story about, oh yes, things were so bad at their house, and how their mother got a restraining order on them. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty bad, you know what I mean? I'm like, why? I'm like, oh, because my mother is so this and that. And again, I don't like to just think people are lying to me for no reason. I just don't think that, I always like to believe that when people approach me, they're approaching me intently, seriously, So I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I believe them. Only to find out that, again, they've been lying to me from the start, even about that. Because guess who, I tell you, it was so interesting. When they decided to bail on me and dip, they did not even compensate me for anything. Literally, they were living rent-free for 6 months. Rent-free. Wow. When they bailed out and they dipped, guess who came to pick up their stuff? Their mother. And that's when I remember watching that, and I just had to smile to myself, because it was just like, so even that, the one of the core reason as to why we even linked up, even that was wrong. Because you want to talk about, restraining order, this and that and the other. If that is true, you and your mother are not supposed to be anywhere near each other. So how is it that your same mother that you claim is so bad and evil and want to talk about restraining order is the same person who shows up to pick up your stuff? And what really hurts above all is that they knew my situation. They knew that I didn't have anybody to rely on, because another thing is how witnesses are raised they're raised only to have friends in that organization, you know. So I didn't grow up with connections. I wasn't allowed to have friends, actual friends outside. So once I left, I didn't have anybody. I had to try and figure out how to fight up and live on my own, no support. And I'm still doing so today, up to this day, trying to make it on my own. I don't have anybody to support me. I don't have any family or friends I can call to assist me, to crash by, to help me financially. It's just me. And they knew this, and they still did what they did, you know. Left me in the dust where, again, I had to worry about being homeless. That, literally. I was genuinely thinking after that, I was like, well, I'll just have to find some abandoned house or abandoned building somewhere and try to hole up there and see if I can survive. That's honestly where I was thinking. Now, thankfully, that hasn't happened. But that's why I haven't made videos, at least for a month and some, because I was going through quite the tough time, quite the tough, stressful time, and I had a lot of other things to focus on. You know, I couldn't focus on making content as much as I would have loved to. You know, I had to focus on where am I gonna rest my head, where am I gonna get something to eat, how am I gonna sustain myself? Because again, I would have mentioned this in prior videos, but I'm still job hunting, guys. I'm still job hunting. It has been almost 8 months, not even kidding, of just looking for opportunities, and I have not been successful. Now, from what I have seen, I've noticed that, you know, the way for me to really sustain myself would be to use my own gifts, but I haven't seen the fruit of that just yet. You know, this is an example of what I'm doing now. You know, I created this YouTube channel out of passion, but also because I wanted to start using my own gifts. I know I have a gift of speech. I know I have a gift of singing, which I will do. But I know I have gifts, and I want to share those gifts with the world, which is why I'm here, which is why I'm making videos. You know, but I haven't seen the fruits of that yet, you know. So I still have to worry about, you know, finances and food and, you know, all of that stuff, the basic stuff. So yeah, long story short, I mean, that's pretty much why I've been away for so long. You know, having to deal with that stressful situation, being thrown under the bus, having my kindness taken advantage of. But I will say again, the growth I have experienced, I greatly appreciate, because it really changed. I really changed after that experience. I became so much more of a protector for myself, you know. It didn't turn me cold, it didn't turn me bitter. I will always be loving, I will always be kind, I will always be generous. But it helped me really enforce my boundaries, you know, and protect myself. It really helped me enforce that and grow into a person who can do that effortlessly, you know. Now, I will admit, it still does make me uncomfortable to have to get confrontational with people, but I will do it if I have to, you know, especially when it comes to my well-being. I have to protect myself first and foremost, and I think that's the most important thing about being a protector. You know, a protector has to learn how to protect themselves first and foremost before they can even think about protecting others, you know. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I feel like I had to learn. So despite it being a very unpleasant experience, I'm grateful for what it has taught me. I really am. Now, in terms of my current situation, God bless the landlord's heart. They caught wind of it, and they asked, what's going on, and I explained it to them what's going on. And to be quite honest, I even broke down in front of them. I couldn't help it. Broke down in tears because I was so stressed out, you know. And I told them, I said, listen, well, I'll leave at the designated time. I mean, I had to leave. Obviously, I have to. The lease was broken. The contract's broken. So I had to leave earlier. I'm like, well, I'll pack up and I'll leave, and I'll just find some abandoned place and hope for the best. And even they were like, nah. Well, firstly, they said they didn't think I could handle that, which I respect. I respect it. But they also said it would bother their conscience to leave me in a situation like that. So right now, I still had to move out of the apartment, but they had some condemned apartments. So these are just not in use, not fit for use. It's just a building. So there's no utilities, no water, no electricity, no gas, none of that. It's just a building. But they were like, hey, I can put you there at least for a while so you can build up yourself. So that's where I'm at right now. So yes, life could be better, right? But at least I have a place to rest my head, which again I'm quite grateful for. Quite grateful for. And to be honest, it's not as bad as I thought. I thought I wouldn't really be able to handle it, but it's not as bad as I thought it would have been. Just living in a building, no amenities. The only issue I'm running into is the lack of a fridge has proven to be quite the challenge, because let me tell you guys, oh my goodness, that is proving to be quite the challenge when it comes to food, because again, I'm not working, and if I'm being quite honest, I have no money right now. Right now, as of this moment, I have no money, nothing, quite literally. If I'm being, and I'm not joking, I'm not joking about that, by the way. Full disclosure, as of this moment right now, I have about $1 and some cents to my name. That's it. Just $1 and some cents. That's it. So when I say that I've been living on hopes and prayers and faith, just me and the divine, I'm being quite serious. Quite serious. But again, even when I end up getting some funds, fortunately somewhere here or there, to get some food, it's like I can't even stockpile. I can't save it for later. Also, it will spoil. So that's been a challenge I've been trying to figure out how to work around. And yeah, but that's just where I'm at right now. So yeah, I will be releasing videos and stuff like that, but it won't be as I guess I would say consistent. It'll be a bit more sporadic, and the uploads will take a while, because again, for me to charge up my devices and use Wi-Fi, I have to go in public spaces now. So what I'll do is I'll go to the mall, charge up my stuff, get the Wi-Fi there, and then head back. So that's what I do now. And yeah, so that's life for me. That's why I did not make videos for this past month, and that's my current situation. I'm still holding on. And again, it's some people are surprised. They're surprised at how lighthearted I am, and how free I am, how happy I am genuinely. But it's like, I don't know how else to explain it other than I know deep down inside I'll be okay. That's just the best way I can explain it. I know deep down inside I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I will be taken care of, because I know I am loved. And I know that, besides me loving myself, I know that there are quite a many bit of beings out there that are watching over me. And God's watching over me, you know. He won't let me fall. He won't, because I know that I have done everything in my power, everything in my entire life to do the right thing, to grow, to not be stagnant, to evolve, to change, to be better. That's what I've spent my entire life doing. Even though there were so many people that got in my way. There were so many times where people told me, hey, why don't you just stay in the religion? Because at least, you know, they might treat you better, even though they still treated me like garbage when I was a part of the religion. You know, at least they might give you a little bit more favor. You know, you might be able at least to live with them or get a little something to eat. But it's like, to me, it was like I was given a choice of whether to sacrifice my integrity, sacrifice my growth, just to survive. And I chose the harder path. I said no. I said, even though I may risk being homeless, risk my life, I still decided that I would live with integrity and with dignity. And that means something to me. It may not mean something to others. It may not mean something to a lot of people, but it means something to me. And yes, you know, I may be speaking to you guys right now, starving out of my mind. Starving out of my mind. Right now, for today, I only have a mango to eat. This same mango actually, which I didn't reveal to you guys. I only have this to eat for the day. I do not know what am I going to eat for dinner. No idea. I really don't. I don't know if I'll have dinner. Can't buy any food. There are no opportunities that are presenting themselves, at least not yet. No money, nothing. I have nothing but myself, and that's it. Myself, I shouldn't say that. Myself, my spirit team, God, but that's it. And my faith, that's it. But I'm the happiest I've ever been. You know? I'm not shackled to anything that would have impeded my growth or made me miserable. You know? I would rather die with integrity than live without my dignity. And that's the honest truth. And when I say I remove myself from anything that would have impeded growth, I really don't mean anything. My life, my situations, the family left. I said, alright, I don't want to be a part of this. And they abandoned me. But that's alright. I know God sees what's going on and He'll take care of me. Jobs. I've left jobs where they were clearly taking advantage of me, overworking me, underpaying me, extorting me, taking advantage of me. And I could have argued, well, I should just stay in them. I should just stay in the job because at least I'll be making a little something. Even though they're not even paying me a fair wage. You know, at least I'll make a little something so I could at least survive. But again, to me, it's like, what's the point? Why would, it's like I'm sacrificing myself to not sacrifice another part of myself. But it's like, to me, it just doesn't add up. It does not make sense. Energetically speaking, it doesn't make sense. What good is a life where You're miserable. You're miserable. And all you're doing is doing things to just scrape by the next day. You're still miserable. You know, you have a system that takes advantage of you, and you can't get out. I didn't see the point in that. I don't see the point in that. Without your integrity, can you really even call yourself a human being? I don't think so. But at least now, even though I don't have anything, I feel rich spiritually. I may not have anything physically, but spiritually, I feel rich beyond compare, abundant beyond compare. Free, unshackled, you know, because I'm not playing into something that is trying to, into a system that is trying to drain me and keep me in this loop where they'll give you just, they won't even give you enough to take care of yourself. They'll give you just below what you need to take care of yourself. So you're always in a state of panic. You always have to keep coming back. I don't want to subscribe to that. And not only does that happen with jobs, again, it was happening in my family as well, where they were like, hey, basically, conform. We want you to fit into this box. And it's only if you fit yourself into this box, then we'll consider taking care of you and making sure on supporting you. No one's going to put me in a box, impede my growth, because that doesn't benefit me. As a matter of fact, who does it benefit? And that's the question. All this state of constant panic and constant worrying about where your next meal is going to come from, and putting you in a constant survival mode and trying to prevent you from growing, it certainly doesn't benefit you. So who does it benefit? That's food for thought. Something you guys should really think about. And it's only when we all realize what's going on collectively, that's when that change, the real change, will happen, you know? That's when the real change will happen. But the change starts with you first. You have to make that choice first. Within yourself, no matter how hard it may be. And that's what I'm doing. You know? So, yeah. Just wanted to leave that with you guys. Update you guys on my situation. And although I have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring, I'm not worried, I'm not stressed. You know? Not to say that I don't feel those feelings. I am still human to a certain point. I still do feel those feelings sometimes, but I know I'll be okay. And that's just what I'm holding on to. You know? That's what I'm holding on to. I'm an alchemist after all. So I transmute all this suffering and pain into beauty. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I will make a beautiful life for myself, no matter the cost. I will. So anyways, I'll leave that with you guys. If you've reached to the end, and thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate that. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're interested in more content like this. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.